Quack, quack. Well, we've got some new members to Legacy Farm. They're in there. They're about 10 weeks old, 12 weeks old, something around there. Anyways, anyone's ever in Virginia wants some fresh duck eggs, gonna have some for you guys. Part 3, working on the Samurai as we walk by all of the old ones. Part 3 of working on the Samurai. We're gonna do a little bit of a tune-up. I've already painted it again with a very expensive $5 paint job, $10 paint job, excuse me. I used 2 cans of paint on it. Here's how it looks. It is gunmetal gray. It matches the seats and those 5-point harnesses a lot better. And the gold, I think, pops a little more. Okay, so we're back. Fresh wires with zip tie separators, plugs, and yeah, new engine oil, new engine filter. So I think we're good on that. I probably need to change the trans flute and the gear oil, which I'll do before I take it out. But that's on the list. Next thing I want to do is put some gauges in it. So I've got a universal set of oil, temp, and volts coming in the mail. So when that gets here, I'll install it, and I'll show you guys where it's going to go and how it's going to install. It should be easy.
2 weeks later.
Okay, so we've got a lot of the toys out, and by a lot of the toys out, I mean it's been a few weeks since I've worked on them. I've been doing a bunch of house stuff, a bunch of yard stuff. Bought a new tractor, that's pretty cool. Either way, it's been a while, and I guess I'm kind of just I'm just puttering at this point. But Fool's Gold, the 1988 Samurai on propane, is getting very close to done. As you can see, we've got, I don't even know where we left off, but as you can see, Corbeau seat, 5-point harness, gauge cluster, wiring all the way done. We also have propane routed. There's not going to be a seat right here. This is going to be stored. So it's kind of how the wiring looks. Not the prettiest, but also not the messiest. This switch box is from Amazon. This is what it looks like all buttoned up. Here's the switch panel. Here's the master power and obviously shifter. So that's how that all turned out. Works and runs great. Really happy with how that switch box turned out. And yeah, there's just a few more things to button up. I've got an oil leak on the cinder that needs to be resolved. I've got to fix the brakes. I've got no brakes in this for some reason, so I also probably have to fix the timing. It's a little jumpy. So there's a lot to do on the old 88 Samurai. What's up, guys? Matt, Legacy 4x4. It's been a minute since I've recorded anything. I got a promotion at work, so I'm a tad more busy. I don't really have that much free time. Anyways, that's the rant. As per usual, not sure where I left off, but we are back working on the 88 Samurai. As you can see, I painted the valve cover, did a tune-up, spark plugs, working on bleeding the brakes right now. Everything's looking good on it. It runs great. Brakes are really squishy, so I need to fix the brakes before I do anything else. But as per usual, I'm not happy with the back half. I think it just looks way too boxy. I know the Samurais are super small box, but I think it looks way too boxy. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and chop everything from the B-pillar out, including the tailgate and these rear sections right here, and kind of do a little pre-runner look that just has room for 2 propane tanks in the bed, and everything else is gonna be tube. I think that's gonna really make the Samurai look less boxy. I like how the front cage is all tied together, and I like how everything's tied into the firewall right there. So leaving everything from the B-pillar forward, plus that's like the only semblance of a Samurai left, so I gotta leave some Samurai. So all of that forward is gonna be left, and then we're gonna redo the rear, and then we're gonna test on some trails that I'm making in my wood. So yeah, it should be a fun video. It should be a lot in this video, which is also why it's gonna take forever to make the video. But I'm excited, I'm stoked. I'm gonna get started. So I'm gonna break out the Sawzall and the plasma cutter, and we'll get to chopping. All right, right, we got some CAD, cardboard aided design going on. And I finished one of the sides. Let me show you what I'm going with. It's a little bit different. We've got some really light zinc 1.5 square tubing going into a 1/8 plate that kind of boxes the body together, as well as ties into the roll cage, and overall just adds some structure. As you can see, there's a top piece of 1/8 as well, trying to give it a little bit of rigidity. My goal with the rear of this, I should say, is that there's nothing really back here that requires dramatic protection, so I'm building it pretty light duty wise. And if we take a step back, as you can see, we got the cool Truggy little front end, and then it comes to a flatbed on the rear, and that's what we're going with. Maybe eventually, if I 4-link the front and the rear, I can rearrange the bed, chop the whole bed off, and just do a tube back section and take the coilovers. But for now, since we're leaf springs on all 4 corners, having a flatbed is kind of the only way it looks right, I should say. Everything looks right in the eye of whoever builds it if you're happy with it. But so the next step for the rear end is going to be to recreate it on that side. Should be a good time. I'm sweaty and gross, and it's muggy and humid out, so I'm not having a great time, but I enjoy looking at it when it's done. So 50-50, right? Enjoy the little things. 52 minutes on the dot. Other side's done, and yeah, let's talk what's next. I guess let me show you first. So as you can see, we've got the symmetrical kind of slanting inwards triangles, cheap Home Depot zinc tubing, and steel plated zinc. Steel plated with zinc. That's what I wanted to say. You can see both these have a slight inwards angle, and the welds are pretty shit, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. They're pretty bad, but this whole Samurai is kind of like a weld it kind of rig. I'm not too worried about trying to make the welds look pretty. Like on the buggy, I try and make all the welds look pretty because it's a tube buggy, right? And I want people to be like, oh, look, I know how to weld, yada, yada, yada. Because like there's some pride in that. But on this Samurai, which I got for a stupid cheap price, I could care less. But here's where we're at. So we've got the back flatbed area done. Could have done better with that. Like I said, there's some small blemishes, but I'm not too worried about it. I also went ahead and chopped the rear bumper, that way the tires had room to flex, because that was an issue with it flexing, is these rear tires would hit the sheet metal right there. And yeah, so this is the bed area. I'm gonna call this done. I'm gonna of course paint it the gunmetal gray, not the primer, but that's the area. I'm gonna call that done. The next thing we gotta do is kind of a bunch of small things. You can see this leaf spring is actually mounted to the body mount, which is like 1/8" square steel open face. So I'm gonna go ahead and seal that off with some like 3/16 probably. That way that whole section right there is boxed along with the drainage hole. That way that leaf spring mount is kind of more permanent, and it doesn't start to bend the mounts like the front one is bent. So that's on my list. After that, I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with this top section of the B-pillar right here. All right, thanks for the tips on the welding hood shield cover. It really helps the beard not getting caught on fire. So appreciate everyone who sent me that tip when I asked for it in the comments. You guys are sweethearts. We got the B-pillar done, and I think that's the majority of the welding for this video. I'm probably gonna put some expanded steel in some places just in order to kind of clean things up and add one more layer of minimal protection. Anyways, I think that's the majority of the welding for this video. I think that's about as far as we're gonna get in terms of doing more tube work and rear structure. Okay, so I spent some time this morning and I finished up that upper B-pillar. A quick couple notes on that B-pillar. I really wanted to match that angle of those lower triangles. That's why the upper triangles aren't going all the way into the corner, because it would have been way too steep and it wouldn't have looked right. Structurally, I don't think I'm losing much strength, considering the angle still is 6 inches from the side of the B-pillar. And if I walk around to the front, you can see we have a crossbar going directly down to our tie-down bar, and this is only 4 inches apart right here. Structurally, I don't think I'm losing much stability or strength with the B-pillar going 6 inches away from the sides instead of directly into the corners. You know, most people say you're supposed to gusset if it's 6 inches or more. And with how this is set up, there's a 2-inch gap between the down pillar and a 4-inch gap between the sides. So theoretically, that gusset should be perfectly fine, and I'm not worried about it. I think that's gonna be perfectly strong for the application. Disgraceful. All right, guys, another glamour shot of the 88 Sammy. We're making good progress. Kind of looks like a little mini truck. Not that I'm against the mini truck look, it just looks really miniature. The next step for this 88 Sammy is going to be some weld-on beadlocks, just because I really dig those Maxxis Treps that are on there right now and I want to reuse those rims. But yeah, guys, 88 Sammy, more progress, more progress, more progress. And honestly, I'm actually really digging the leaf springs in all four corners. I think that's going to work really well with those narrow Toyota axles and just the generic like 80-inch wheelbase that it has. But yeah, guys, 88 Sammy, that's it for this one. I don't think there's much more to show. Next time you see this, hopefully it's trail building and wheeling on my property. Should be a good time. See you guys next time.